Welcome to Brunswick Beat.
Brunswick County's only television news show brought to you by the Brunswick Beacon. I'm Rachel Johnson.
And I'm Stacey Manning. Commissioner Charles Warren has filed a racial discrimination complaint with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. However, the claim is a violation of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. Circumstances of alleged discrimination in the complaint are listed as race and retaliation between January 23, 2011 and February 20, 2012. According to Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, elected officials are exempt from filing an EEOC complaint. The term employee does not include a person elected to public office.
In 1991, senior tackle Tony Kaysen helped lead the West Brunswick Trojans to a state runner-up football season. Today, Kaysen, 37, is a loving father of 2 boys, a doting husband to his wife Shannon, and a die-hard Pittsburgh Steelers fan. He's traded in his number 70 Trojan jersey for a detective's badge, having worked for the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office for the past 13 years. Kaysen's most recent challenge is to add cancer survivor to his resume. Kaysen has a pancreatic-type cancer that runs from his pancreas to his bile ducts. This past Saturday, Tony and Shannon Kaysen headed west to Houston, Texas, where he is to receive chemotherapy at the MD Anderson Cancer Center. After chemotherapy, Kaysen will undergo a specialized surgery. A benefit for Kaysen, Friends Don't Let Friends Fight Cancer Alone, is scheduled for 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday, April 21st at West Brunswick High School in Charlotte. T-shirts and koozies are also available. To find out how to show your support for Kaysen, pick up this week's Beacon.
A well-known Ocean Isle Beach resident known as the Fishman was killed in a tractor accident last Wednesday night. According to Brunswick County Coroner Greg White, 52-year-old Bruce Henry died when his tractor overturned on Wednesday, March 21st. Henry was on his property on Old Charlotte Road pulling roots with the tractor when it flipped over, killing him. Many area residents remember Henry fondly. Those who knew him say he was a man who loved life. He loved being on his boat and fishing. He began working with his father in the seafood industry while he was in high school at West Brunswick and was well known for selling shrimp on the roadside near Holden Beach. Funeral services were earlier this week. A complete obituary is inside this week's Beacon.
Monte Murray was all smiles in court last Friday as his bond was reduced from $1 million to $115,000. Murray remains a suspect in the death investigation of 3-year-old Jaron McAllister. Jaron died on March 1st. Preliminary autopsy findings state Jaron died of internal bleeding of the liver due to blunt force trauma. Last week, Murray faced charges of assault with a deadly weapon on a government official and felony flee-elude arrest. Murray's charges stem from an incident on March 1st when he was allegedly babysitting Jaron along with a second suspect, Jesse Lamont Holt. Murray led police on a high-speed chase on US 17, hitting 2 officers' vehicles before a pit maneuver was used to stop the vehicle Murray was driving. Murray will return to court on April 4th to face additional charges related to the high-speed chase. Holt hired a lawyer last week and will face drug charges, which came after a search warrant was executed on the residence where Jaron lived with his mother. Still, no charges have been filed related to the child's death.
A Charlotte alderman plainly challenged Mark Saunders to follow through on his word and be prepared to answer questions at the board's April meeting. Last Thursday, during a Board of Aldermen meeting, most of the time was set aside to discuss calling a bond on River's Edge Golf and Plantation Club. At noon, the day of the meeting, Mark Saunders, owner of the Coastal Companies, faxed a letter to the town requesting the matter be tabled, saying he couldn't make it to the meeting. Alderman Walt Eckert expressed his skepticism, calling on past promises made by the company. He challenged Saunders to listen to the audio recording of the meeting and to come prepared to answer the town's questions on April 3rd.
It's the time of year when severe weather can spring out of nowhere and cause serious damage, even taking lives. Last week, the National Weather Service of Wilmington, in coordination with Brunswick County Emergency Services, conducted 2 storm spotter training classes. The class emphasized the dangers associated with lightning and flooding, the top 2 weather phenomenon killers. About 10% of thunderstorms become severe, and all thunderstorms contain lightning. If you can hear thunder, you are close enough to get struck by lightning. Residents are urged to make emergency plans in advance and to pay attention to approaching weather. For more tips on severe weather, pick up this week's Beacon. A Brunswick County Sheriff's deputy who was cleared of any wrongdoing in a shooting last year has recently been fired from the Sheriff's Office. Last month, District Attorney John David cleared Sergeant Brian Tully of any wrongdoing in a December 2011 shooting, but Tully was fired from the Sheriff's Office on March 23rd. David said his investigation found Tully's actions were justified and the need for deadly force was authorized. Tully fired shots while responding to a domestic call where a suspect was in the process of stabbing her husband. The suspect and the victim both suffered gunshot wounds. At this time that he was fired, Tully made more than $45,000 a year.
Staggered start times will once again be on the Brunswick County Board of Education agenda. Board members will take up the issue and possibly the fate of staggered starts at their next meeting, which is at 6:30 p.m. Tuesday, April 3rd at the Brunswick County Commissioners' Chambers in Bolivia. Superintendent Edward Pruden said it would cost the school district more than $1 million to revert back to a traditional school bell schedule for the upcoming school year. Officials adopted the staggered start schedule in March 2011, and it was implemented for the 2011-2012 school year last August. April 3rd will be the last chance parents have to make their voices heard before a decision is made.
Officials with the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction have approved a waiver for Brunswick County schools to operate on a 180 instruction day calendar for the upcoming school year. The school year will begin August 27th and end on June 7th, 2013. The request for a waiver was submitted in accordance with state law, which allows a waiver for the 5 instructional days, permitting school districts to operate a 180-day school year instead of the traditional 185-day school year. The 5 days allows for mandatory teacher work days, for professional development, and for flexibility for inclement weather makeup. In the event of inclement weather, the teacher work days would be used instead of holidays or weekends. If there were any days missed due to inclement weather, they'd have to be made up on a Saturday or a holiday. The Brunswick County Schools Board of Education will take up the matter at their April meeting. Find all of these stories and much more in this week's Beacon, available on newsstands now. Welcome to the Beacon Sports Report. The West Brunswick Lady Trojans softball team picked up a huge win Friday night over undefeated conference leader South Columbus, winning 4-1 in dramatic fashion. In a heated pitcher's duel, West came out on top with a 3-run walk-off home run by first baseman Alyssa Chappell. West struggled to get any hits in the first 6 innings, but kept the game close because of the remarkable pitching by Kim Cook. Cook pitched a complete game 2-hitter, striking out 4 and giving up 1 run. The game was scoreless until the top of the 6th when South Columbus scored its first and only run. In the bottom of the 7th, with 2 outs, the Trojans' batting came alive. An error and a walk put runners on first and second. Hannah Stocks hit an RBI that tied the score at 1-1. Chappell was up next and drove the first pitch over the left field wall for the 3-run home run. On March 20th against East Bladen, Chappell continued her batting streak with a line drive home run and a run-scoring triple as West Brunswick beat East Bladen 14-3 in 5 innings in a conference game. The Lady Trojans are 4-1 in the conference. The West Brunswick High School baseball team beat South Columbus 6-3 last Friday night and improved to 5-0 in the Waccamaw Conference. Ryan Kaysen was the winning pitcher, and Landon Tilley picked up the save. Kaysen pitched 4.2 innings, giving up 7 hits and 1 earned run. He walked none, hit 1, and struck out 6. In West Brunswick golfing action, playing in the rain in the first 6 holes and in brilliant sunshine in the final 12, West Brunswick senior Greg Hensley shot a 73 and won by 1 stroke in the second Waccamaw Conference golf match of the season on March 19th at Magnolia Greens. Hensley shot 1 over par. On March 22nd at Land O'Lakes, West Brunswick beat West Bladen on a tiebreaker. Each team finished at 317, but the Trojans won the match on the 5th-man score. In Trojan girls soccer action, sophomore forward Carla Zio scored 4 goals as the team beat East Bladen 6-1 in a conference game on March 21st. Amanda Davison and Carson Lewis also scored as the Trojans played their best game of the season. West went on to beat Nash Central 3-0 last Friday and South Central 3-0 last Saturday. West is 4-6 overall. Read all these stories and see more great photos in this week's sports section of the Beacon.
Who are these little doll babies?
These are two of our little kittens. They aren't quite ready for adoption yet, but I bet they will be by the time this gets on
I bet
air.
they will be too.
This is Trouble and Toby. They're about 2, maybe a little over 2 months old. They're very, very sweet and playful. And they have nice round heads that I find especially pretty. There are the gray tabby and the solid gray, and then they have 2 others in the litter that are black, but we figured they wouldn't show up against my shirt, so we'll just go with the gray ones today.
All right.
They're tested for FIV, FELV, and heartworm, and they've had their distemper shots. They've been defleed and dewormed, and they will be spayed and neutered, and then they'll be ready for adoption.
Okay. Well, they sound like the perfect pets.
For Frank Pinkerton, building models is a way of life and leisure. The 79-year-old Korean War Army veteran recently donated 5 model wartime planes and 2 model ships he built to Calabash VFW Post 7288. Today, they are proudly on display. Pinkerton donated the models because he thought the veterans would enjoy them, and veterans at the post say they do. 5 of Pinkerton's wartime planes are suspended from the ceiling. Pinkerton's 2 ship replicas are on a side wall at the post. They are the USS Snap Destroyer and the USS New Jersey battleship. Pinkerton has been building models since childhood, growing up during World War II in Pennsylvania.
The Old Bridge Preservation Society in Sunset Beach is in the process of collecting recipes for a future cookbook. Members have already collected recipes from a number of restaurants and famous people from around the country. If you have a special beach recipe or a favorite family recipe that you would like to share, the Society would be pleased to include it in the cookbook. You can send as many as you would like to share via email to the Old Bridge Preservation Society at gmail.com. Include your name, hometown, and a short comment about your recipe.
Brunswick County principals were treated to a recognition luncheon last week by communities and schools. The event honored Helen Davis of Town Creek Elementary School, who was named Principal of the Year last October. Guest speaker was Vicki Snyder. She was principal last year and asked principals and school board members to assess their busy schedules, and she had them take part in a relaxation exercise. Other speakers included Brunswick County School Board Chairman Shirley Babson, CIS Executive Director Cynthia Tart, and Superintendent Edward Pruden. CIS provides funding for the luncheons, which have taken place since 1998.
Sarah Simmons is proudly putting in sweat equity as she works on her future home. Simmons and her 3 children are recipients of Brunswick County Habitat for Humanity's latest home under construction on Evans Circle in Charlotte. Teams of volunteers have been helping Simmons and her family, and the house is going up fast. Simmons has been putting in sweat equity hours required for Habitat recipients. So far, she's logged about 230 of her required 300 hours of Habitat duties, including working at the fundraising restores. By the end of April, work on the house should be finished so Simmons, her 2 teenage daughters, and 3-year-old son can move in.
That's all the time we have for tonight, but you can read all these stories and much more in this week's Beacon. If you have comments or suggestions for us at Brunswick Beat, you can email us at brunswickbeat@brunswickbeacon.com. Don't forget to follow the Beacon on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Brunswick Beacon.
Thank you for joining us, and don't forget to tune in next week for a brand new edition of the Brunswick Beat, Brunswick County's only television news show. We close out this week's show with photos of students at Brunswick's Early College preparing for the premiere of the Hunger Games.